The first thing to do is to be sure you have the correct program installed in the performance controller for the car you're working on. For this car, you also want to be sure your performance controller is the flat bottom one with the dual lock installed on the back. Before we get started, we need to remove a few components from the engine compartment. We're going to remove both of these aluminum diagonal braces by removing the 2 bolts on each one of them that hold them to the car. We're going to remove this plastic cover that snaps on top of the engine. We're going to loosen the 2 lower hose clamps and remove both of the air boxes from the top of the car. Once we've got those out of the way, we can take the 2 bolts that hold in the intake tubes that run from the front of the car to the air boxes. Once the air boxes are out of the way, we can unbolt them, unclip them from the front of the car, pull them back, and get them out of the way. Once you have removed all the components from the top of the engine that we spoke about earlier, we're going to make our map sensor connections first. There are 2 map sensors that we're going to connect to on the car. There's one located on the passenger side intercooler and one located on the driver's side intercooler. Both map sensors are low on the intercooler. The driver's side one is on the upper side of the intercooler, and the passenger side map sensor is located on the bottom front of the intercooler. On your controller harness, you will see there's a pigtail end marked A and B. The A pigtail is going to attach to our driver's side map sensor, and the B pigtail is going to attach to our passenger side map sensor. Alright, the first connection we're going to make is going to be on the driver's side intercooler. This is the intercooler here. This is the outer side of the intercooler. The map sensor is this sensor right here that's bolted to the lower side of the intercooler. To make our connection, we first need to unplug the stock harness. A pick works good. Undo the little lock on the plug right here. Then depress the lock. I can't really see this with my hand in the way. And unplug the plug from the sensor. This plug will plug into the controller harness A pigtail, to the female plug at the end of the pigtail, like that. The other end of the pigtail will plug into the map sensor where the stock plug used to go, right down here. The second B map sensor is located on the passenger side intercooler, on the front face of the intercooler, and right down at the bottom. I've already made the connection here to the letter B pigtail. The connection is made just like you did on the driver's side by unplugging the stock harness from the sensor here, plugging that plug into the controller harness, and then plugging the other end of the controller harness into the sensor. After you've finished making the map sensor connections on the intercoolers, you want to zip tie the harness to this tube across the front upper portion of the engine. Right here, you want to move the harness from the engine up to the radiator shroud and keep it tight tucked right here, because there's an air intake tube that we're going to hook back up when we put the upper engine compartment back together. The performance controller itself is going to mount to this plastic cover that's right here on the passenger side, and we'll get to that. We'll make that connection last, after we've assembled the top of the engine. Once you've done all this zip tying and tidied up all your harnesses, now we can reassemble the top of the engine compartment. Okay, once you've finished reinstalling the components from the top of the engine compartment, we'll move on to our final step, which is mounting the performance controller and plugging it into the harness. On the bottom of the performance controller, you'll see the 2 pieces of dual lock already stuck to the box. We are going to stick the performance controller to the top of this plastic cover on the passenger side of the vehicle. To do that, first thing you want to do is be sure you have wiped down this surface with some alcohol to be sure this sticks. Next, you're going to peel these 2 little white pieces of tape off of the dual lock. You're going to turn the controller over, move it right up under the brace right there, and nice and straight. Stick it right down to the top of that cover. Once you've done that, you can unclip the bypass plug from the end of the harness. Set that aside for now. And the harness plug will plug right into the controller, just like that. and then use the purple bracket. As you push that in, it'll draw the plug right into the controller.